I hand over the floor to Mr. Santosh.
Good evening. I know that we, being the last panel, and we are going to stand out between you and the dinner, right? And so therefore, I know that I see very anxious faces. What these guys are going to run through the lot of presentation and so on and so forth. But thankfully, none of the panel members over here are going to make any presentation. But we would like to deliberate on the topic or the issues at hand. Thank you very much for a very kind introduction for all the panel members. One of the things which I would like to dwell upon when I changed over from Asian Paints to Strapex India Limited, we were starting. It was 2003. And my managing director from Switzerland, we went to various industries across. For about 6-7 days, we visited. I think your call is coming through. Is your call coming? I'm sorry. We visited many companies, and behold, what did we see? We saw that there was at the primary stage, when the product is getting made, manufactured, you had a huge amount of automation that was coming in. Huge amount of automation. You talk to any industry, be it be HR Johnson, be it be Pepsi, Coke. When it came to the packing part of it, you found that there was enormous amount of manpower. They are just offloading the primary products, primary packed products, and then actually putting it into the secondary packaging, putting it into pallets, and then moving it out. So that was the situation then. What is the situation today? I think very little has changed. To make a matter, to put it more in the perspective, yes, there are trendsetters. You will see a lot of companies who have changed the way they were doing business. Some of them, the industry leaders, they took the holistic view of the business. They understood what we talked about in a previous session about per pack packaging, per pack cost, per pack turnaround time, and so on and so forth. They automated, and there are trendsetters out there. But in the middle level, the whole amount of the industry, the industry that is there, they are into semi-automated state. There is no holistic view in terms of looking at this. So that is what we see in the industry at this juncture. But what exactly is happening when we talk about it? Yes, there are influencers, there are the users, there are the operators, there are the knowledge holders, and they are all influencing all this industry. The industry, as we go, in India particularly, as anywhere in the world, we are all looking into the same data. We are looking into the same kind of products. We are looking into the same kind of the patterns and behavior. But the consumer over here is slightly different than what's there over the world. As we are running our business, what do we expect? We expect the product as manufactured condition, as we have manufactured, should go to the end customers. The end customer or the user who actually tend to use it. But when we talk about it, when we talk about each one of the product that is being manufactured and it is being delivered, there is huge amount of complexity which we have seen. We have seen in the first session that we were talking about right from the packaging part of it. Yes, there is some kind of a packaging that is a challenge. The second session which we saw, which was very beautifully articulated about the machine, the automation, and the things that is happening. That is happening in the primary level. Then when it comes to the tertiary level, what is the kind of automation which is happening? I think that is the cause of concern to most of the business users. I am sure I would, with the esteemed panel members over here, we would be talking about their experiences, their viewpoints, and we will take you through what they have experienced and what is the ground reality, rather than talking in terms of throwing you this is the ideal situation, because we also know that the ideal situation may not be the actual situation on the ground level. So I would throw this question open. There are a lot of pain areas. We can start with Dasgupta. He has a very 35 years of rich experiences in the as a user. He is being a consultant in terms of the industry, trying to lay out how, where, that, and what that needs to be done. Yeah.
Hello?
I think these mics are working. Yeah, of course.
Hello, yeah. I think you can hear me, and I was reminded when Santosh was talking about how many people were there in the manufacturing and how many people were there in the packaging. Say, I was reminded of my earlier years in pharmaceuticals when the ratio was something like 40-60. Around 40% of the people were in the manufacturing side and the 60% of the people were in the ultimate packaging. So now one thing by which I like to start the discussion is today what I have seen over my years is the machinery speed is increasing. For example, I have seen bottles being filled at 80 bottles per minute, 120 bottles per minute, 250 bottles per minute, and even more. Now, the moment the bottle speed increased, say what was happening is, say it forced automation because there was no choice. The moment you have 80 packs per minute, you could have a few groups of people packing those into corrugated boxes, strapping them, taping them, etc. But the moment there are 300 bottles per minute, 400 bottles per minute, which is, and even more, which is happening with the beverages industries, you see that there is no option but to go for automation. For example, let me put another thing like the vision system. Now, as long as the speeds were low, people felt that I will have 2 or 4 inspectors on the line and they will inspect it. But the moment the speeds increased to something like say 350 bottles per minute or so, this went out of the window, and then it necessarily needed to have vision systems. So the part of these inspection systems which you have, say for example, increased, put a demand on the system, and the automation started on coming on its own. So as we see the speeds go up, so the automation goes up. And one thing which was particularly in the Indian minds was that the automation is complexity, automation will not bring me flexibility, automation will have frequent breakdowns and all that. Now all those things, all those concepts are actually going away, and we welcome the automation coming in its place. So my first observation in this regard was, say, as the speed of the lines are increasingly automation is coming, because it is no longer possible to see for the manpower to do this job.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Can we have your view, Mr. Asif?
Surely. Good evening, everybody. As Mr. Dasgupta just said, the market is so huge in India, and we are certainly exporting some product as well. So within India itself, the line speeds are going up everywhere, and for that, make a roadblock for everywhere. As we put a manual labor. Firstly, you write huge numbers, and if 2 persons are not there, then obviously your efficiency get affected. So it's becoming a need, a necessity to go for automation. But there are other challenges into that. Yeah. India being a very diverse country and a very big country, you put a plant in the west where the humidity levels all across the year is very high. You come to the north and you see the heat here. So what sort of a machinery or anything which we have, which should do the job properly everywhere. So this was a big challenge for us in our experience which we have seen.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Mr. Krishnan.
Yeah, so in continuation of what Mr. Dasgupta said, there is one more reason why the last aspect is also getting automated now, is because See, earlier, I mean, we had no problem. One, the speed was less. Second, labor was available cheap and in plenty. So, and the money for investment was limited. So there, I mean, the need for automation was not felt. But as the speed increased, as the labor costs are increasing, and the labor situation is getting complex, you know, companies have started automizing in this field also, and money is becoming less and less a problem in terms of the investment cost in the automation and the machinery, etc. So we are seeing an increased trend of automation in this field, and I think this will get tackled in years to come.
Thank you. I think the panel agrees in terms of the automation part. Just to give you a brief on it, what I felt when I was just looking at it, what is actually driving the automation? Yes, one thing which we all agreed, the sizes are becoming better, the requirements are bigger, the requirements are requirements from the consumer are becoming more stringent. So it would be fair on our part to say that there are issues which are more to do with globalization. We are seeing the consumers' behavior changing. Probably that could be one of the factors what we can deliberate here. The second thing what comes to my mind is, obviously there is a need for increasing the productivity. I think the productivity is a norm which we heard in the earlier panel. The people are talking about their OEE, their production, the production per banda, per man. That is a kind of the language which is used. So that's another area which we think that it is moving with. Third important aspect or third pillar of this automation, or rather going for this, is compliances. We talk about the compliances to FDA, say there is a compliances to the industry standard. For example, in Walmart, when we talk about it, they have their own standards and stuff which is there. This is what we need, and therefore it becomes the industry standards, and so the compliances. And fourth, which I think it is not necessarily in the same order, but the fourth, the most important to my mind, is regulatory, and which is what we talked about in pharma industry, track and trace, and so on and so forth. So if you look at it, these are the four pillars which I personally feel, and which we can debate. These are the things which we are driving the kind of an automations and doing the thing. The key point here is still what we can deliberate is what is the role in terms of the relieving the pain, because if you see, the pain points still exist. Pain points at the end of the line, they still exist. And which are the pain points? That is what we can think. So I would like to throw this question: what are the pain points you still see at the end of the line, which happens, and which is what is the important area which we need to address?
Okay, I will add one pain point which I feel that, see, in most of the cases, the end pack is a corrugated box. I mean, either it's shrink wrapped, or it's stretch wrapped, or it's boxed. Now let me talk about the most common of these, which is the box. Now we still, our efficiency at that level is quite low, because we don't have automatic wrap around boxes. Even the box erectors, they don't work because of the quality of the boxes which we have. And the pick and place mechanism, though they have come, but still they are unable to give the throughput which will become necessary. So at these points, we often see a crowding of the people, because the people are being used to put these boxes, and subsequently, of course, these boxes go to a pallet or something like this. And what has been happening is that everybody feels, I mean, the corrugated box or the brown box has a very low level packaging component, because the customer doesn't see it, and its role ceases the moment it reaches the pack safely. but the amount of importance it has on the supply chain cost is tremendous. For example, once we did a study with a optimized pallet to a corrugated box, to its footprint, to its top load, to its size, to its shape, and things like this. We often find that the supply chain cost is cut down quite substantially, and in some cases where the supply chain cost is quite high. For example, perhaps it would be a news to some of you if I tell you that in ice cream the supply chain cost is as high as 40%.
My
And if you can just standardize the footprints and you design your boxes properly with the help of softwares which are already available. I mean, these are 20-year-old softwares. We save quite a lot in doing this. So corrugated boxes and the feeding of corrugated boxes, the absence of carton erectors, the absence of wraparound boxes, this to me is a pain point which still exists.
very good. Thanks. Thank you very much.
I will take it from here. Actually, though with us we are quite standardized in our packs and other things, but the issue is on the type of transportation which is available, which is not standardized at all. They are open body trucks, they are of different sizes here, and you can't have your own fleet to have delivered it all over India. So you have to depend on transporters, and it is a really big pain point here for us here, and in terms of thing. And another thing which I will say, which I touched upon earlier, is the diversity. And Mr. Dasgupta just said the type of material available. We just cannot go with the wraparound one because the quality of material available with us is not really up to the standards. And if it is of standard, you have to pay through your nose, which customer is not ready to pay for secondary packaging. So that's another very, very big challenge. And another point which I want to add here is this, that in India, very dynamic market. Today one product, tomorrow is something different. You go for secondary packaging automation, and I tell you our experience, we ordered one machine from America. By the time we ordered, the thing changed. Marketing, no, we don't want this. Said, okay, man, we change it. By the time we ship it, it's 2 months from America to India. They change the pack configuration once again. So we can't ship it, change anything which is on a boat. So once it came here, we struggle a lot. So these are the pain points which we really didn't know, no answer at this moment.
So Krishnan.
Yeah, one of the big problem is about standardization and the quality of the secondary packaging in India. Because in any case, even from a package development point of view, secondary packaging gets the least attention in terms of design, in terms of standardization, in terms of whatever. Because some of the companies also feel this is not a pack which is reaching the customer, so that this need not get so much of importance, without realizing that, well, that consumer pack to reach the customer in the proper shape, the secondary packaging has to be good, otherwise it will not reach. The second aspect is pelletization is not a very standard norm in the industry. Most of the companies don't use pallets at all for dispatching because it's all dispatched as single carton. And especially in industries like cosmetics, our experience is standardization of boxes becomes very difficult because the per pack sales, the product cost and the product price is so different that affordability becomes a question if you have standard packs. If you have a standard shipper to pack the skincare product and the same box packing lipsticks, it is just not possible to sell. Like lipstick, you cannot have, you have to pack the same shade in one box. And such a big box, if it packs so many lipsticks in one box, that will not be a saleable pack so easily.
So have you tried, a very interesting and diverse point which is coming over here. I'm sure that audience would have also noticed. You are saying, Mr. Dasgupta is saying there are softwares which are available to standardize the cartons and stuff like that. You are saying that it's the market does not do. So
Yeah,
have you tried this kind of the softwares which can give you?
We have not
some
tried
solution?
that, but standardization in our industry was very difficult to achieve in terms of the cost points and other things,
Yep.
where the trade, when they buy, they will not buy such a big box of certain products.
Mhm.
So you had to have different
Smaller packs.
sizes and different pack sizes to accommodate their need in terms of the price point.
Price points, okay. The price point is becoming more and more important rather than anything else. That's what.
Yeah, another point I would like to say that this I have seen in other markets, in foreign markets, mixed pallets. Based on a computerized model. Say that means you have 4 of A, 8 of B, and 9 of C, and 20 of D. It can put it in a pallet in a very standardized manner. So this happens at the warehouses, where because there are big chains, big retail chains, modern retail, which asks for example five variants of lipstick. So how do we do it? Now in the one pallet goes to him. So I have seen it in fact a Hindustan Lever warehouse, a Unilever warehouse that is being taken out, robotic pick and place, and a pallet to his, it is working out the pallet placement, and to his specification or buying order, the pallet is being made.
Okay.
So I
So
think
mix and match.
mix and match, yes.
Depending upon the demand planning,
yes.
demand planning, the software is integrated
Integrated.
to your to the placer, picker and placer,
Placer,
and
yes.
doing the automation. Very. I mean, this is what I spoke about the trendsetters. There are trendsetters in the market who are actually automating. If you look from the business perspective, the speed to the market is the key for any survival. I mean, if you talk about the competition today, the faster I can get to the marketplace, the better is my packaging. The faster I introduce my product, faster I occupy the shelf, I think I get an advantage. I think that's the key. And if you look from the automation point of it, it is not only what we are talking about here, what I could make out. We are not only talking about the automation of the machines, we are talking about the softwares, we are talking about the demand forecasting, to manufacturing, to raw material procurement, and through and through. I think that's a thing, that's a sense which I got here. I'm sure that the speed is important.
Yes.
And one point which Mr. Krishnan mentioned, there is very little amount of thought, investment, or the process laying down is being done in the industry for the secondary and tertiary packing. Right? This is what the thing which, and that is what is today's the most constraining factor for the industry. I think that's the reason for this particular topic over here. I am sure that if you have any questions, I would like to invite you at this point of time, or at any point of time which you want to ask. The other question which I wanted to throw back to the panel was, if we know that the investment is in the tertiary and secondary is very less, who is the best person to do the integration? Because you know there are machines which are available, there are robots which are available, you have the part which is there. There are machines at different stages which are available, there are palletizers which are available. After you have done your primary pack, how does and how fast we can move it, and who's the best person to integrate?
See, in my view, it has to be a combination, or it should be a combination of the logistics person and the packaging person, the packaging in charge, who will have to sit together and decide how the whole process will have to be integrated, because each of them have a role to play in terms of from a production and packaging perspective, and also from a shipping perspective in terms of palletizing, in terms of the truck sizes, in terms of what will be the right way in terms of the even for storage, because you cannot have too heavy a box to be prepared, so that storage at higher levels becomes difficult, stacking becomes difficult, and removing it, etc., becoming difficult. So you have to have we have to have an optimal size which will decide the weight factor, the tradability factor in terms of the size of orders, etc. So it has to be a combination of, in fact, there should be an addition from the sales side also to decide what should be a tradable order. So these three people will have to integrate
from the company side.
Yeah, to decide what should be the optimal size.
Optimal size. And what about the investments? I mean, when you are going for expansion, when you are going for a new line, or you are going for modernization, does the same thing hold good, or there is something else?
Expansion, the investment decisions will depend upon, if you ask me about the cost factor in terms of, having a labor-intensive operation for this purpose versus investing in a machine to do this job, how the cost works out, what will be the payback period, and what will be the advantage in terms of, because even if the payback period is less, is handling so many labors going to be more difficult and more painful than the advantage we get on the other side.
See, what I feel, deciding on the pack size or how will I automate it inside, this has to be a interdepartmental team, as you said, of people inside the factory and outside, and it's basically a matter of tactics, that what is needed now at the moment. But on a big scale, automation, it's more of a strategy, the direction in which the company would move. For example, will I have small manufacturing units? Will I have large manufacturing units? Will I have flexibility? Will I have only standard packs? Will my standard packs made at my factory and the smaller packs made at the other people? Where will the innovation happen? How will I serve the rural market? How will I serve the the modern retail, where perhaps more automation and more standardization is necessary? So this is a matter of, I think, a strategy, and the whole company should get involved into it. I mean, say all the major verticals in a company to take these decisions.
Excellent. For you,
here I would like to just add a point. That is, automation has...
Can you give him mic? Thank you.
Automation has been resisted, particularly at the secondary and tertiary packaging level, because it displaces manpower. But if you look at the employment data over the last 10 years, the employment generation has been poor, and most of it has not come from manufacturing anyway. It has come from whatever the balance in the services sector. Agriculture has actually degrown in terms of employment, services sector has grown, and manufacturing has been stagnant. So the net is 2% increase in employment, etc. So it's not as if, if new manufacturing units are grown with automation, there will be less employment, there will be less people. But if there are many such manufacturing units because of growth in the manufacturing sector and growth in the economy, or even growth in exports of manufactured products, I'm particularly talking of FMCG type of products, then the total employment growth will be very good in manufacturing, though it would be less per unit of capital because of automation. But today nothing is happening. To that extent, there will be scale, there will be exports, there will be greater internal consumption, there will be more modern retail. So there will be growth in employment, and it will be probably of a higher category than the Mazdoor type of employment.
So in effect what you are saying is...
So it will, from going forward, it is, I don't think it will face opposition from the government or from the unions, particularly if all the new units come up, and there's one more advantage, that is space cost and energy
Yes.
costs are going higher and higher. Automation will make more compact factories, we'll need less farmland, number one. And number two, energy requirements will also be less.
Correct.
So it's very vital that we go for this kind of end-of-line automation, and maybe if we persuade the government policy will be supportive.
Yeah, it is not, when I laid down that 4 pillars or 4 influences for the automation, it is not to do in terms of the resistance. We don't see there is resistance in the marketplace. We don't see resistance to the secondary part of it. But what you rightly pointed out, there are regulatory bills which we all know about the labor reforms. They are talking about the contract manufacturing. We all know in Delhi what happened in Maruti and so on and so forth. So there is going to be a lot of pressures in terms of wage parity between the contract labor versus the employed laborer. So if the same work, the similar kind of wages that has to be given. Earlier what used to happen, most of the companies, including my previous company, wherever the menial job which did not require any special skills, you used to hire a contractor who used to do the job, which is nothing but what your end of the line used to do. When it comes to the product manufacturing, gentlemen, this is the observation. You will find the best of the manufacturing, the best of technology available. If you went to tile manufacturing, the entire manufacturing till the making of the tile, even at the places like in Gujarat, Kadi area, etc., you will find a good machine coming and making the tile. But when it comes to the packaging part of it, it is all done manually. And this was the case 10 years back. It is still there today, and I don't see it changing very fast. But once this regulatory body, where it's talking about the same pay, same wage, then the people become more sensitive to the manpower. Today, when we are talking about it, some salt bags were being handled by the manual labor. That would also become come under regulation. You can't handle more than 20 kilo or maybe 25 kilo, more than that per piece. So which will drive automation. That is where I was coming from. The point and the observation made by you is quite correct. The industry has, the employment generation has not happened. It has got variety of factors which has led it. I mean, we can talk about the policy paralysis and so on and so forth, which will take it to the other part. But to my mind, in terms of the secondary packaging, what Mr. Krishnan mentioned, what Mr. Asif mentioned, there is very little attention which has been spent. But going forward, I feel there is bound to be more focus there, because that is where, if you go to any factory, that is where the bottlenecks are, and that is what the pain point is.
I don't think there will be any regulatory thing which will stop automation of the last line, because I don't think there will be government mandate saying so many people will have to be necessarily employed.
No.
I mean, that kind of a mandate will not be there. So it is for the company concerned to decide whether I want to invest in automized equipment to do this job, or I want to employ labor force, which will again be a very cost-driven decision.
Certainly, I would say the machine manufacturers have to take a lead in this. Like, we have gone for a secondary packaging automation, and there we did our own survey here in India that which type of machine we should have, which robo we should put. We found, we checked how many population of robots are there. So we looked where is there. So we chose Fanuc, and we told the machine manufacturer we want a Fanuc robot. So we said fine, we will do that, because we checked their service center, their population and everything. The service available in India. So they provided us the Fanuc robot. So that's the way. But I will come back to the other point. Really getting the capex for secondary packaging is a really pain.
Yeah, and there is one more reason for that. The reason is many of the big companies have outsourced the final packaging.
Yes.
Because once the product is filled, even nowadays the trend is only the bulk is manufactured by the company, and the filling of the individual bag, and then secondary packaging, all these are outsourced. So company don't feel it's a high cost because the cost is much lower, smaller units.
In fact, I heard today, sometime in the morning, that when you look inside, peep inside a biscuit factory, you will see perhaps more people than biscuits. Because biscuits are inside the packs, people are everywhere. Now, this was because the biscuit industry was kept reserved for small scale.
Yeah, I agree.
So there was less attention being paid for automation because you could always have
There was an
manpower.
investment.
Investment.
There
No,
was
very valid point which he raised is about the
Investment.
return
It was
on
much
investment.
lower before. Now, of course, they have increased it.
The gentleman over here, can we have a mic over here? And then there's a gentleman over here.
I would like to actually take you back to what Mr. Dasgupta and Mr. Krishnan said. This need to mix and match and to create multiple pallets or mixed pallets. Now, you cannot really set this up at the manufacturing stage. It has to be done at the warehousing or the distribution stage. So either it has to be contract manufactured, or we have to actively develop a 3PL kind of model.
Right. So it's a very
That's right.
another experience sharing. We did it two ways, and I used to work with Asian Paints. A lot of you would have. In my previous organization, we used to get the orders for half package, which means it's 2 whites to 1 pale yellow, or sometime pale rose, to be mixed and given there. So this is the kind of things which we used to get, and we used to do the dispatch from the manufacturing. We tried doing it, but we could not. We did it in a later stage of differentiation, which is what you see color counters. Now you go there, you want to have a wife's, you can carry the sample of a color and you get it. So there is differentiation which you tend to build up. But I have seen it in Europe at manufacturing stage, like what Mr. Dasgupta also mentioned. You are able to do it provided your demand is also done. In your newspaper industry, particularly in Times of India, this is done. Vendor gives the order in the late evening, and the material is stacked, given by the vendor name with the label, given the label, and he gets it the same number of copies which he has ordered. So there are possible that he would have ordered Times of India, Mumbai Mirror, or Economic Times, and all this mix and match, he gets it delivered. So there are things which are happening there, and it's not the things which are.
To me, it more depends on the market. Yeah. As more and more big retail stores are coming in, and their demands are different. They also want mix and match. Yeah. So, as a company, as a producer, we have to match that. Yeah. So it all depends on what market wants.
Yeah. The gentleman over there.
That's an extent what Mr. Krishnan said actually. The vendor and packaging is being outsourced. We are talking about all those integration and others. There's the other part. There are 250 or 350 pack per minute, but the cartoning machine, it requires 450 GSM to run at that speed.
Very valid point.
Yeah. So how now it's a question to the team here also. Like how are the machines getting equipped to handle low GSM board, like 300 GSM board? Everybody in this whole of this forum, we are talking about integration, all high level, and capital cost, all those things. But we never talk about the running cost.
Yes.
Running cost, is there a machine to run a 350 GSM paper at 400 pack per minute? That is a pinch point.
Yeah.
I will answer that.
Yeah.
See, when we wanted to go for automation of secondary and primary packaging, we have gone for a very big tender globally, and we invited many suppliers, and we offered them, shown them our material. If this is what it is, and tell us what you can give us. And we are getting a speed of 900 packs per minute, yeah, with our material and with our specification. And another thing add to that, diverse. We have different factories and at different places. In Goa factory, the humidity level remains more than 90%. Corrugated box behave very differently. In my Punjab factory, where in summer it is hot like here, and in winter it's same like Delhi, 10 degrees or 5 degrees. Cotton boxes behave very differently. So everything was shared with them well in advance, and they are delivered. To me, more important is to make your specification sheet more robust, and suppliers are there who can deliver that.
Yeah, I agree with you that all said and done, we have to work within our boundaries. Now, for example, I will take you back to our first conclave, first meeting here, when Mr. Bhargav said that in India we purchase board by GSM and not by stiffness, corrugated box by bursting strength and not by compression. So these were the things by which we go. But for example, the other things have also started happening. For example, it is now being found that there are very lightweight liners which we can make corrugated boxes in which the GSM is very low but the strength is very high. Or for example, the performance of a carton is mostly on the stiffness and not on the grammage. So when the standardization and automation comes, perhaps what we'll have is we will have an improvement in our basic packaging materials also, and the older paradigms will get challenged.
I think very valid point, very valid observation, and the panel has also shared. One of the other thing that is also happening in the corrugated corrugation and corrugated manufacturing, which we also did some study. We are also seeing there is a sea change in terms of attitude, in terms of their investment. They are also investing today because they are also getting geared up. If Unilever is going to have a mega factory, obviously the semi-automatic or the hand, they can't just supply the material over there. So there are automatic plant suppliers who are also getting into the beam and very closer to the FMCG. And if you look at their cost differences and stuff like that, it's today, earlier it used to be about 50% or maybe more. Today it is something close to 20 to 25%. The other thing which they mentioned about it is because of their automation, their own part of it, the drying in the corrugated boxes also makes a lot of a difference. If you have 12% moisture to 6% moisture to maybe 5% moisture, there is a huge amount of difference in terms of the stiffness. And your carton erector will be able to run. That is the key that we need to understand. Yes, there are development that you require a thinner, smaller gauge part of it, but you also require to have a trade-off with the fast-moving mechanism. And if you look at holistically, I think panel would agree that it could make sense for the industry to go for.
See, not only that in the industry, what we are finding now, from 5-ply we are switching to 3-ply despite of automation.
Yes.
Because that way you are rather, as the stiffness is the most critical, even for the corrugated boxes. Compression and the stiffness, both is important. Like for paper corrugated blanks, we had 3-ply instead of 5-ply, carrying almost 12 kg or maybe 15 kg. So I think that is something with the automation you can even lower the grammage.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And reduce the conversion cost of corrugated boxes.
Yeah, possible. I mean, very valid. Another experiential.
Again, from the paper industry, I would go with the newspaper that is graphic. About 10 years back, most of the manufacturers used to use Conclave for putting tying the newspaper, which has a shelf life of 3 hours maximum, maybe 4 hours. I don't see any other package which is just packed for 3 hours or 4 hours. So that's a secondary packaging which you used to do with Conclave. It turned over and became a MST and kinds with 12 mm strap. They went for an automation. They became 9 mm strap with Wamak machine, automated mail rooms, which cost a couple of crores for this kind of stuff, and they had a 9 mm strap, which later on now it has become as a trend, which I see for the very fast production line. going for fiber. The cost per meter remains the same, but the grammage has dropped, but the speeds have increased, and you hardly find one person there doing a packing. That's another just adding to your point. That's a thing which is.
And just for information, the largest Japanese craft paper manufacturer is setting up a fabrication unit between Delhi and Jaipur.
Wow.
Japanese park,
Uh-huh.
and they are setting up a huge corrugation unit.
What's the name of the company?
I've forgotten, I read it in the papers.
I would
OG.
OG.
Yeah, that's the name of the company.
Okay, so they are putting up
You
there.
will get top quality corrugation.
My God, there's very good information being shared. Yeah.
Joint venture between OG and JK.
Yeah, JK paper and
JK paper, yeah.
JK paper and OG. I mean, it's a good.
Say another interesting paradigm which will get challenged is, say up to now the concept in India was all under one roof. Say I will make board, I will make boxes, I will print them and things like. Say if you look typically the American model, somebody makes a automatic machine makes only the board. Now they said there is a hub and spoke model. They sell it to others who may convert it into boxes. Now, some of these manufacturing practices will also get challenged, and we will have to see that what we have been doing up to now, whether it's the best or not. Just think in terms of flexible packaging industry. Would it make more sense if I have one center where there is only polyethylene being blown, but then I have only one center where the polyester is being printed, another where is being laminated? Some part of it has already been done in India. Uflex has a dedicated center for making polyethylene and things like this. So the models which we have up to now, they will also need to be looked into. That whether the things could be done the other way and whether people are doing the other way. In fact, the making the board and selling it to spokes, that has already been started in India, where people are making good quality board and sending it to other people to convert into boxes.
Very interesting. Yeah, just taking a bit more further. Another thing that comes to my mind is in terms of after you have actually made the product, put it in the primary pack. I think the other thing that also plays important role in manufacturing. This is what we see. There is a traceability which is becoming more and more important with the companies, particularly in pharma, which we talk about, particularly in FMCG, which goes for the consumption of the consumption. That is the direct consumption for the people who consume. So that's a thing which is coming in. So therefore, there is a need to automate there to do the tracking and tracing. It cannot be done manually by writing register, trying to do that, which we heard in the previous part of it. The second thing which I also would like your opinion in terms of your handling, storage, transportation and inspection and traceability, which you see as a trend that is emerging in your industry and with your experience.
I will add to that something, because traceability and everything is today is a very much norm, which is for any specifically industry like which I work for, is a food industry where any complaint you can withdraw the particular batch. So traceability is very, very important. But another point which is there from Indian prospect, which is there is the pilferage which happens in your cases. Being a food company, and our transport chain is so open that anything can be done. So there was always a fight where it happened. You put less into there, and there's always an issue there. So from that point of view, there's another dimension to the batch coding and the other thing. Yeah. So what we did was basically we put the weighers there in between to put the weight, apart from the real statutory requirement which were there to put on a shipper. We put the weight also, whatever is there. So actual weight is printed. So if there is any issue, you can weigh the particular case there, And if it is less, that means you can see what is printed there. If it is less, that means it has happened in between. If it is the same and you say, okay, the rush packet is in it, that is the factory related. So we look at it that way.
Yeah, two quick points. One is the check weighing, and second is metal detection. Say these two are now coming into our all packing lines, typically for food, and these have added a lot of safety to the entire process, and also an assurance that what is going out has indeed the weight, and it also meets the regulatory requirement. So any line which is being put for food now essentially will need these two. And another thing on track and trace is the first in, first out. Typically for food, because everybody wants the product to be as fresh as possible. Now, say this will also play as a special role, typically in food products, because we can then ensure that the first in, first out thing is followed out, and what we get is a freshest material which is available, and the turnaround period is less.
Yes, yeah. That's all.
See, in terms of track and trace, I don't know how far the secondary packaging is really relevant here. Because the track and trace really will be with the primary packaging, because that is where the batch information, the production, manufacturing date information, the expiry date, everything is printed onto that, and that is what is reaching the customer, not the secondary packaging. So I would think track and trace, in terms of secondary packaging, track and trace will be such a big issue.
It is.
To me,
It
yes,
is.
I will agree.
I'm
that
sure.
It is. Certainly.
Is there
It is.
somebody from the audience who said?
Yes.
Yeah, please. Your view.
I'll answer Mr. Krishnan's question. Track and trace is going to be very important. Purely
Please.
because
Gentlemen
from a
here and
cost
gentlemen there.
effectiveness point of view. See, from a cost effectiveness point of view, track and trace at the intermediate and transport level is much cheaper than doing it at the unit cost, at the unit on the unit pack.
On a unit.
You see, track and trace systems
Yes.
as a cost
Yeah.
based on the unit pack will be much higher than they will be on intermediate and transport.
So you are saying is that instead of doing it and the
No, I'm just saying this may be
Okay, that
an
will be-
interim solution.
Okay, interim.
It may be an interim solution, but certainly it will be much more cost effective on the intermediate and transport packs than it will be on unit packs.
Thank
But
you. Another
the
gentleman.
track and trace in terms of the batch number, etc., as a regulatory requirement has to be on individual packs. It cannot be on a master shipper alone.
But then you see the concerns you raised, basically because of diversion, because of because of shrinkage, and because of actually the main reason is for if there's a record, then it becomes much more necessary.
Yeah,
But
gentlemen
recall is
there.
again, recall will be again based on individual units.
No, I
It is the batch information.
But at
So-
least if you cannot do it at the unit level, from a cost point of view, you can at least do it on an intermediate
It is not a question of whether we can do it or not. Whether it is food industry, whether it is cosmetics industry, whether it is food industry. These are all a regulatory requirement that individual packs should have the batch information, manufacturing information, expiry information. Simply having it on a master pack is not enough. So it's not a choice of between industry.
So you see, there is a difference between giving the information on the pack and tracing it.
Tracing it and
See,
being-
I'm talking about the traceability point of view.
See, in a traceability point, what is effect is that it is much better in terms of the part, because nobody will open and see in the first inspection. Say.
And I tell you, in most of the cases, whether it is pharma or FMCG, most of the packs are tamper-proof these days. Most of them, So this batch coding, what you are talking about, Mr. Krishnan, that is already there.
Yeah.
It is taken that it has got to be there.
Right.
Now, the bigger worry is on transportation packaging. And in Indian context, this is a big problem. As Mr. Asif was mentioning about it, the shrinkage is one of the major issue in food and pharma industry. And not only in the exports industry also, it's becoming it is a major issue. So that's why some companies have started using a special RFID tags and all those things. And it is bound to grow. I was in a mall a couple of days ago, and I found that some of the packs, imported packs of fruit juices, they were having, even the individual packs we were having, So So the awareness is increasing. But in Indian context, I think the tracing and tracking requirement is very much important, and mainly on the secondary packaging.
The contrary, just to add on, what is also happening in the secondary packaging, you are also storing it. So when you want to actually know when what material FIFO you want to follow FIFO, you want to follow specific to a specific portion. So it is becoming tracking and tracing in your warehouse automation.
Okay, printed.
So from that point of view, yeah, because when we are talking about it, we are talking about the speed to the market. The gentleman there. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
My name is Sanjeev from Zircon India. I think I just heard it up. I just joined really just now.
Okay.
That definitely the security on the shipper cartons is very important. There's no doubt on it. But as you mentioned that you are putting up a weight, first of all, it slows down the process. That your shipments are not reaching fast. Second thing, do you think when a retailer or a wholesaler is picking up from you, is he weighing it? No, he's not weighing it up. Once he opens it up, then he says the two boxes are less. Now the carton shipper has already been opened. What will you do then?
See, there, I agree with you. Yes, there have to be some trust between the distributor and the CD point.
If we have a trust, then why do we are wasting money on putting weighing at? It's a cost to the company.
See, to avoid, there are some people who just.
There are better ways. No, what I want to say, there are better ways available today, and we just did it. Basically, we are a labeling company with security features. We just did it for one of the largest FMCG company of India, who are doing the same thing, and we proved it to them that one shipper costing something like ₹1.25 if you are doing this weighting and then putting the adhesives on the entire shipper carton so that you should not be able to open it up. Weighing is not the right solution, and even if you are weighing it up, we proved it that you can open the shipper carton, you are weighing 22 kilo. I can take the 3 cartons out of it and I can just put anything in it. Shipper carton costs only 25 rupees. Why should I give you the same shipper carton? I can give you the duplicate shipper carton also, writing your company's name. It costs 25 rupees, available at every nook and corner of a city. So that's the reason
you contribute to the big industry in India.
Yeah. So whatever it, there are many important ways that are available today for the securing your secondary packaging.
I think there are both sides of the coin. We can keep on debating on this issue, but it is an important issue which needs to be addressed. Whether we need to or whether we don't need to. There can always be pros and cons, but it is seen as a too much of a prudence in the whole thing, that you need to, if you were to weigh the carton, it is much better because you are able to, and more importantly, where you are keeping, within your own warehouse. When you are keeping it, most of the company will go in for the automatic storage and retrieval system as the factories become larger. At that point of time, you also require, at the same time, there is additional check which happens.
It will also depend upon the number of occurrences, basically, because it's like insuring the shipment. Now, if by practice we find that the loss is so minimal that it's not worth insuring, so that is a kind of cost. Like it will depend on the number of pilferages or number of cases reported in terms of shortage. That will decide whether we should take this additional precaution of printing it on the package.
No, we take any complaint very seriously. So even one complaint is taken very seriously, and we don't want to spoil. If there are 100 packs, there have to be 100 packs. Yeah.
Complaints have to be taken seriously, but it's a question of who is going to fund that.
Sorry to barge in. It's like counterfeiting is happening in India. Very many FMCG products, for example, Colgate, I have seen in rural market it is sold as collegiate. Likewise Dabur Amla, and so many big brands.
They are genuine confident.
There are. And I was with Indofil, and they have got big brand. M45 is a very fast selling pesticide product. In the eastern part of India, West Bengal, there are organized counterfeiters who are doing it. Now, the point what I want to address over here is that yes, even big companies know that counterfeiting is happening, right? But it doesn't mean that they just have to sit down and then do nothing. They are bringing many changes. As Sanjeev was just mentioning, that security features in label that itself has saved these companies, and the revenues have been increased because of these security features. Likewise, this trace and track is going to be very critical activity, and in Mozambique they have got a very big system. They're warehousing, and they have implemented this track and trace system, and because of the awareness in the consumers, because of the awareness and required efficiency in the supply chain, this concept is bound to grow.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, that's what. Thank you.
I agree with you. While we are talking about the FMCG product, even in industrial products, for the industrial, if it is, we take a textile, say Reliance, when they are supplying the POY bobbins, they do the automatic and storage retrieval system in their system. So each bobbin is tracked. Earlier, what they used to have a second sales because of the damage and stuff like that. So that's which is careful, but they are trendsetters. In a general industry also, now people are getting aware, and they would like to put in. One of the thing, just a minute. One of the thing that was mentioned was that there are people who are doing a counterfeiting by changing a name, but I know for the industry where the names are also put in the same way, and you are actually doing the fraud there. Here there is a name change. They are playing in a name change, but there are people who are actually filling up your material inside. Yes.
Yeah.
You wanted to say?
Yeah, I am Harveer Sani from Wedding Celloplast. We make tamper evident labels, and we've experienced that when we go and take it up with the users, and we prove to them that our labels, whenever they are opened, they're customized. It's not very easy to get a duplicate made. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's not very easy also. It's a big deterrent. But the problem comes in when the buyers say the cost is high, and the cost is virtually nothing. Maybe on a full shipper, you would probably end up spending 2 rupees, but they don't even want to spend those 2 rupees. If the onus not on the user or the buyers to add a little bit of cost to safeguard the product, they can print, but they would not like to use a label on that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Okay. I know I have been reminded, though our time were taken up by the previous panel very conveniently. They ate away into our time, and I just asked for about 5 minutes to say 5 to 7 minutes more, because I do understand we don't want to be villain.
I would like to clarify Mr. Sani's question.
Yeah.
Because from a buyer seller side, he is having his point.
Yes.
See, ultimately to the retail customer, the individual product is going, not the shipper. So that's why buyers don't want to add that 2 rupees to the box.
But then look into the pilferage, then the
No, I'm just explaining you. See, I know one company, they invested almost 11 crore in screen printing machines. Okay? But if a buyer, retail consumer is not able to differentiate between the UV printed machine and the screen printing machine, those machines were scrapped. So what I'm saying, ultimately, retail pack has to make that differentiation.
Right. Correct.
Talking about the shipper. And on the
Okay.
shipper, a 2 rupees on the shipper means you might have 3,000, 4,000.
That is
Yes.
question of the perspective.
Now I know the time is short, so I would now take you to the total integration. When we talk about the line-to-line integration, we are talking about pain points. And one of the pain points which I think panel talked about is doing the automation. I'm talking about now the total integration. How many of you or the panel members view in terms of totally automating the system? The system means both software to hardware to stuff. Is it a challenge? Is it what we see the thing happening there in the industry? If so, what?
See, it's a big challenge because you know, as I said earlier, the transportation is not standard. Our pallets are not standard. Even if I design a machine for secondary packaging, for palletization even, for going a step further, so we have to have something standard, which is not there. So that's a big challenge. For export, we do look at even slip sheets because it's going into containers which are very standardized. So we use slip sheet there, which really helps everything.
Reducing the cost.
Space also is saved into the container and putting more product into one container. But it is a big challenge in Indonesia. Maybe tomorrow, as big retail stores are coming in, and their demands are onto the pallet, and they are looking at the very standardized pallets. So things will improve.
My feeling is, say, there are industries which are very standardized. For example, if you take a soft drink industry, the sizes of the bottles are standardized, the sizes of the water bottles are standardized, the pallet loads are standardized. Perhaps what you do to see is the standardization goes hand in hand in the first step towards towards the automation. So most of the automation and standardization and line integration perhaps would start happening from there. And in the rest of the industries, yes. But it's happening. For example, take a small thing as a glass bottle industry. A glass bottle industry, if it standardizes to a single pallet, and if every customer agrees to take it on a pallet, the number of damaged bottles would go down, efficiency would come up, cost would come down. And as a packaging development manager, I can tell that every time when my bottles used to run on the line, the fear which I always had before I had a vision system is there was a small chip of glass which will fall into the product and some customer would come back with it. So the breakages of the bottles are definitely less with palletization. So there are some sections of the industry it should not wait. It should start happening. It should start happening. Say when you need a palletizer, you need a depalletizer. All those things will come in its
Trends.
all the things will come in its own way. So I think the trends are there. The industries which can adopt. There will be fast adopters, there will be slow adopters, there will be medium adopters. All those things will be there. But I think the
Mr. Krishnan.
Yeah, I mean, like Dasgupta saying, some of the industries will be very difficult, like FMCG especially, because you have same product in 5 different pack sizes. I mean, the standardization and automation becomes
a bit difficult.
Very difficult.
But yeah, I think to the audience, I think this would be one of the challenges going forward. When we are looking at the total line and we are looking at the standardization, India being a huge country, if I were to put it, you talk about the demography. Sometime back we were talking about even the drinking habits are different, the buying habits are different, and so on and so forth. So I think yes, there will be a challenge there. But couple of things which from the experience which we are seeing. We are seeing that the people are going in for palletizing, if not dispatching from their plant. But they are doing it for the partial. Coke and Pepsi, for sure, they are doing it palletizing at their warehousing level. So that's one thing which we are seeing the emergence happening. From the case, that is a key trend which is what is happening. Second trend which we are also seeing from the experiences, that tracking and tracing or automatic warehousing, warehouse automation is becoming a key. Primarily, nobody wants to spend time and effort in terms of following FIFO manually. So that's another thing that we see. And I would like your point of view, whether you are also seeing the similar kind of thing as an industry. We are also seeing the warehousing automation, we are also seeing the track and tracing automation, we are also seeing the integration between the entire system from demand planning to actually fulfilling. If you look from the demand planning given by the industry, and so that's all. So I would raise, if any of you have some concern over there, we could basically give your point of view. Anybody would like to say something on this? Okay, just to sum it up, I know that this gentleman don't want me to be a villain between you and your dinner. So I think that's one thing which we would like to conclude. Very quickly, the panel has been very lively. I thought during at this point of time that most of you would not be participating. I think thanks to the audience, you have been posing a lot of questions and observations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the panel for bringing up the points, which is primarily ranging from what are the trends which are there in the industry, looking at the way the automation is taking place. There is a need for the being a lead integrator in the industry to look after what happens after the primary package is packed. How does it get into the cartons to palletizing to warehousing for the inspection, or to the to your automatic storage and retrieval system, then looking into the dispatch part of it. So there is a need, and I think to very great extent we are trying to fill this need as a Signode India, trying to do this part of it. We welcome we welcome all the partners. We work along with all the partners to fulfill the need with the industry. So having said that, yes, there are challenges which are there, and I'm sure that the people have realized that अगर अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं तो अच्छे काम भी करने पड़ेंगे, ऐसा नहीं होगा. So that's a kind of thing. With this remark, I would like to end up this session. Thank you very much for being patient. Thank you very much the panel members for being here, taking the time out from your busy schedule. Thank you very much the organizer to put forth the